one of the things that I realized.
Hi, everybody. We're in middle. Yeah, no, what do you realize?
We're in mid-conversation. Like the power that we understand how to wield on the internet is literally social engineering. Like you go to Google and the stuff that's on page 1 or 2, that's truth. It's just truth. And the stuff that's at the top is more true.
That's what they pay us the big bucks for, right?
Right. And it costs a few $100 to get something up there, knowing what we know. And there's other routes to do it. Obviously, you can spend a lot more depending on what you're trying to do. But, you know, the fact that fact checkers say that is true, it's not how you get to truth. It's not how you get to knowledge. It's how you get to
I was literally looking for something the other day. Like I was looking for something that I knew wasn't going to come up if I looked in fucking Google, right? Excuse my language. I caught myself. I was searching Google. I'm like, what am I doing? No data on what I'm looking for, but then I shift over to another engine that I use, and I found what I wanted right there on page 1, dude.
Dude, I'm on DuckDuckGo as my primary.
That's what I'm saying. DuckDuckGo has tons of information. It's solid as hell.
So if 3 people here who know this stuff, when they are looking for things themselves or using DuckDuckGo, that should tell you something. If you're
hey, by the way, what browser are you guys using?
I think I use Opera, and I also use something called what is it? It's on my mobile. What is this?
Is it Brave? I use Brave.
I've heard Brave.
Brave is solid, dude.
Yeah, Brave.
The increase in traffic. Let me share my screen really quickly. This is funny now.
My mobile app is just called Browser, and it's through a VPN, and it's just called Browser. It's grayed out. It does not have any cookies. Doesn't have any sessions. You know, you can bookmark stuff and keep it there to go back if you want to find.
Right here, look at that.
Damn.
That's probably all from me wearing my DuckDuckGo shirt the other day.
Right? No doubt, dude.
That's a good one, man.
I've been talking to different people, like but the whole point really of the narrative that's being crafted is very interesting, because I literally have talked to like people very close to me, people that I work with professionally, and their narrative is absolutely the opposite of what I see and believe. And no matter where it is, it's certain population centers I've noticed they have a very particular narrative, and it's amazing to talk to people that I could see eye to eye with a year ago, and now the complete difference in value, freedom versus security is so extreme that I can't relate to their opinion at all anymore, because I can see something completely different. And I can't argue this because I'm not going to change their mind at all. But it's absolutely the media, because I watch media from all over the place. What's funny is I got a link from you today, Corey, that I tried to send to Fletch, and instantly Facebook's not even saying they're blocking crap anymore. They literally just won't let it go through, dude. Yeah. Like it's literally just an error. There's no more pop-up that says, hey, we're blocking this because we don't agree with it. They've taken it completely away. And on that note, 2, Google, when all of this happened, remember when they changed that? They literally changed the code and brought all the directories back, brought up all of the small business, because they knew small business wasn't going to be able to pay for advertising if they didn't support the small business. Then those people weren't going to be their $20, $10 a week customers, or whatever it is, $10 a day customers next year and the year after, dude. And so when you see that and you see them shift the algorithm so quickly and so drastically, it should trigger for everybody out there that they are a for-profit company. They are not a moral majority of anything. I think that people really understand the way they work, that they won't even think I don't understand how anyone can look at Google and think they're a good company at all whatsoever. And it's just very interesting to me that people can actually float on the side of not liking what's going on, but then support that company as well. It shows the state of the media, the state of the population right now is what it shows to me. It's crazy, dude. It's nuts, man. But
that platform those guys got deplatformed several months ago, along with other stuff that they put out there.
Yeah.
But always like solid information, like, you know, it's kind of like, it's not necessarily like BitChute, but it's kind of similar in the platform. Like, you know, you have a lot, I mean, it's all free speech,
Right.
It does tend to lean to the right. And why is that? Why is because everything that leans to the right at all is suddenly demonized, and people are getting deplatformed all over the place. And like you said, like even with Google, like we should all take note of that a lot of these corporations that are doing stuff like that. Who knows who's really behind the curtain? You pull back the curtain, and there's a little Wizard of Oz.
It's Brad over there with his keyboard, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah,
I did wear green.
Like some of the people I've talked to, right, when they learn about like what I do, it's just like, what do you mean? You're the person responsible for what I see when I go to Google? Like they just assume it's like, oh well, Google knows, right?
Right.
Like, no, these are conditions that can be engineered and put in place, and you're gonna rank at the top for whatever you're going after, right? It's like, oh, I didn't really even think about that. I just assumed that this was somehow like an objective truth. Like this is actually what's going. This is what's real, right? And it is real in the sense that they're seeing it. But they're being in this. It feels like everybody knows that there's stuff that people like us do to influence that type of thing, but they don't realize necessarily how prevalent it is. In kind of the agenda, right, in the narrative, and
but then Google makes their own choices on the kind of the content that they want to serve based on a political agenda.
Like Mike was talking about. Yep.
It's interesting. Well, today, not to go into a political rant,
before we move off the political stuff,
go for it.
Remember when they a bunch of SEOs band together and ranked George Bush's website for worst president of all time?
Yes, I do.
That prompted an update because Google was like, "Oh shit!" And then you have to have the word on the page typically. In that.
No, 100% true. So I was thinking about it. I don't know. I forget how it popped up, but I was reading. I think it was. Let's see. No person would give up even an inch of their estate, and the slightest dispute with a neighbor can mean hell to pay. Yet we easily let others encroach on our lives. Worse, we often pave the way for those who will take it over. No person hands out their money to passersby, but to how many do each of us hand out our lives? So really what I started thinking about was like all of the damn times I should have said no to a client, no to somebody on a project that I could tell at the beginning was a bad idea. I didn't listen to someone around me. I didn't listen to my inner self or my gut, whatever the hell you want to call it. And it led to just problem after problem after problem until that was cut and chopped and thrown out the door. The quote is from Seneca, but so
I got a lot of time, energy, and money wasted in most situations. Yeah,
exactly. And you've helped me a lot with that, Brad, actually, because like I'll bring shit to you and you're like, dude, well, what about the money here? What about the money there? What did this? What blah, blah, blah. So it lets me see. I need someone else to look at opportunities a lot of the time to like get a larger view. So to start, let's just go around and see, like, can you think of some time you should have said no? And for me, it probably was when I was 10 drugs, but I didn't. So here we are. But no, really, like in business, where you could have just said no and scoffed a whole bunch of pain, a whole bunch of nonsense. And then we'll get into how to kind of do that in the business as we go forward, man. So anybody?
Number one for me is when we tried to do an agency and didn't control the finances of the agency. Yeah. So money got spent very, very, very quickly on things that I don't want to call anyone out that was in charge of it, but things I don't think should have been spent on.
Yeah.
Like a brand new office, like we've got this whole floor. Okay, who gives a shit, you know?
That affected 3 out of 4 of us in here, and I still feel like shit for that.
We went with it, and I mean, it was good, you know, on paper. It seemed good, but it's just, we just hired an MBA. Okay, well, your MBA fucking sucks, you know, stuff like that. So that's one that caused, it didn't really cost me any money unless you look at opportunity costs. Which
right, bro, that cost you time, dog.
It was time. Yeah, it was time for everyone, I feel like. So
yeah,
I lost a lot of money on that one.
What's that?
Yeah.
I lost a lot of money on that, but I don't consider it lost. I consider it things that, you know, this happened not to me, it happened for me. So, you know, probably like you guys, we came out better on the other side. You know,
you learn from it. Every situation I've learned from.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? You win some and you learn some, and if you have that perspective, you can you can look at it and say, okay, what did I learn through this experience? Like I learned, number one, like I started doing a lot of research. This is like my third or fourth attempt at a partnership, barring, the cert nerd stuff that we did. But Dave Ramsey said, the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. And it makes a lot of sense when you start thinking of it in those kind of terms. I know there's good partnerships, within our industry here that work out, that do, but a lot of them just tend to fall over, which is all bad. So that was a good one, Mike or Brad. I think another one for me is those times when I have a certain quota of new business I want to bring in every single month, and I'll get on the phone, somebody will call, and they want all this stuff done, and they're like, but my budget is $500. And I'm like, what can you do with $500? And I'm like, well, shoot. I mean,
you're like, I'm not gay, but $500 is $500.
Fit in a round hole, dude. Like you're trying to make that fit because it seems like what you're saying, because I know I've done this, is when it's time to fill that quota, like you're trying to make it fit, which we all know leads to an issue in a month or two down there, and it can end up costing a lot.
Trying to make it fit typically ends up in a pain in the ass,
Yeah, so those would be for me. And then because it comes to renew, and there's how come my credit card got billed? I'm like, well, you that's what you signed up for. It's it was right there. You signed on the dotted line. You signed up for the subscription. Well, I need a refund. I can't afford it right now. I got to pay my supplier. I got to pay other. And so it's like getting involved in small projects, that take as much time as the big ones for me. I think is a big one that I, that I just to your stoic quote that you gave, Mike. 100%. Like they take your money, your time, all that stuff that you can never get back. So
also on the flip side of it too, going for projects that are way too large, that are going to put the cash flow streams at risk. I've had trouble with that as well. People try and think too big sometimes, and they delay getting paid. And then you end up no one gets paid. You can blow through some budget if you want to. Even when it's not necessary. So I feel like on either end, you need to find not the happy medium, because you could find a large project that really does pay off. But just be careful. Again, if you don't have control of the finances, is where I've seen the biggest issue. Not you in particular.
Also, I would think the larger projects, what I have seen, and we were talking about this the other day, is when it's working and someone gets not necessarily greedy, but like, they're in our way, let's go after them now. We need to beat them now. Like this becomes something that's more of an ego-based attempt rather than a smart.
Especially when the them is a huge fucking company. It's not like I'm not going to start a bank and go after Bank of America. So yeah, it depends on the them. If the them is attainable, that makes sense. If the them is not attainable, especially in the near future, then kind of let's go after them instead. But
what about you, Fletch? Anything you can think of, brother?
Yeah, like 18 different thoughts came.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Talking. I did the office thing and brought staff in and had overhead $20,000 a month. And I was making enough that was like, oh, well, it's a drop in the bucket, right? Kind of thing, right? Not a drop in the bucket. It was significant, but I could justify it, right? I started wanting these things already. And so that it's like, oh, now I can justify it because I'm making enough money, or we got the floor, right? Or we hired an MBA or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, I got an office, and now it's more legitimate, right? It doesn't really help any of us get more projects, do more work, do anything other than it tied up, $20,000 a month worth of money that could have been spent elsewhere or put in my pocket, right? And so a lot of people are just kind of, they're following like a narrative or a story that they've got about when they're legitimate, right? When they're making money, when they've made it, when they've, accomplished something that it feels like they're supposed to do. And it just kind of reminds me of like, conversations I've had and been part of with David Mills, who I think a lot of people here are familiar with at least.
Yeah, he's launching a new his new thing, right?
Yeah,
isn't he?
It's made me. It gives me like butterflies in my stomach. Like I'm
really
happy about it. And I spent more than 10,000 hours on his material, and like not just listening to it, but like working through it myself. And it's been like some of the most valuable stuff I've ever done. And
the LOI stuff.
Yeah. And the extensions thereof, Alchemy, and put a product out a while ago that was that was about building an information business. And you just look at it, it's like, this is unlike anything you get out there. Like there might be some things that overlap that, yeah, it's like, okay, that was right there. That was right there. But you don't know exactly, like what I was kind of driving at before I diverted myself is like one of the most common questions he would ask. And this was not like to be rude at all. But he's like, why is this important?
He does. Yeah, I think he's asked me that before.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love David. I sat down one time for dinner with, it was Alex, Gould, David, and I, right? And we're in Tennessee, just me and Gould. We're just doing that thing out there. And we go out to dinner with David. And that night I learned a ton from David, man. But he's so straight to the point, blunt and honest, like people should be, the people that I like. I love that. What you said is perfect. Like, why? Basically, it's like, why? What's the point? What do you say? What, that to me was amazing. Like,
you can get yourself in, like, if you're in an argument with somebody who sees things differently politically, why is this important? Why is it important that I feel like I either win the argument or convince them differently?
Right.
Like,
I don't try and win arguments anymore. It's something you learn from being married is
yeah, no doubt, dude.
you don't try and win arguments.
You got to facilitate conditions such that.
Yes.
There ain't no.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of just the gist of what came to mind, is that we all too often get, going back to the cynical quote, it's like we allow these things to happen. And if we realized how important they actually were, right? How important the integrity of our own mind and life and decisions are, we wouldn't allow other people to influence them as easily as we do. And as, prevalently, as often as we do on a daily basis, even like flipping on TV or something like that. It's like you're allowing somebody else to tell you what's important. Like what's on the news, whether you believe it or not, you believe it's important. The issue they're talking about, that kind of thing, right? And that shift of importance is paramount to being able to create better success for yourself and better world, better life,
100%,
all that kind of thing. So paying attention.
That was well stated, man.
Well, hopefully somebody recorded this, because I don't.
I think it's being recorded on the YouTube. I'm not an SEO guy.
I don't know. I might get pulled down.
It's in Facebook somewhere too.
Yeah, Facebook.
You said it there, like what's important, and it's a little off topic from the know, but one of the key principles that I've taken away from a lot of the study in philosophy is the fact that when I can do it sometimes. It's not one of my worst qualities, but focusing on what's happening, overseas, where there's issues over there versus what's happening in my home, what's happening in my business, it really is a waste of energy. And there's a time to help people elsewhere. That's not what I'm saying, but there's a lot of people right now in this world that are focusing on things that are outside of their sphere of influence too much, in my
way out of their control. And it's like,
yes, exactly.
I'll shift that and say that that I am doing a lot of with things that are way out of my control.
Yeah, it does. It happens. It's easy to do. And luckily, I've got a wife who's like, if I start to go and talk about what's going on in freaking the world right now, it just don't bring it in the house. Shut up, And so I just shift off of it. After I do it like 4 or 5 more times and piss her off, then I stop. But that's me trying to win an argument, Brad.
Yeah,
never works, dude.
So I don't argue with you. You're just like a woman.
As long as you keep getting me turkey meat, dude.
Yeah, we made some turkey meat. Yeah.
But
and just so everyone knows the inside joke that's watching it, it came up at something. I can't remember what, but we all took a draw on something that we've been working on. And one of us, I can't remember which one even said it. Oh, good. Now I can buy a Thanksgiving Day turkey. Yeah. I think it was around Thanksgiving or Christmas. And now it was every time we get paid, we're like, oh, good. I'll go buy a turkey leg with this. Thank you.
It's turkey meat, man. I love sandwiches. Sandwiches are good.
I got in trouble yesterday because I didn't buy Brighton turkey meat at the store. He's like, did you go to the store? Yeah. Did you get me turkey? Oh, fuck. No. He's like,
you better go back.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
4 trips to the
I got cheese. You want some cheese? No.
It's like thinking of the no thing, man. There's so many things. And I think it's something that people truly have to guard against, whether they're in our industry or not, right? The open door policy in some businesses, I look at that in an open door policy. If the boss has an open door policy, it can be very detrimental to always say yes and take the time to listen to everybody what it wants. And this is like where gatekeepers come from It's why you get gatekeepers on the fold, keeping people away from certain people, because if certain people aren't doing certain things in any organization, whether it's a family, whether it's a business, it doesn't matter, then there's stuff getting left behind, there's stuff being ignored, and it's not running optimally. So I kind of look at it like it's something that people coming up into business, people coming up. You need a longer beard, Alex? Right on, dude. I'm sorry. I noticed. I think people are talking about your beard, your Corey's and Fletch's beard, dude, because mine, I can't really grow
Mine's
it.
not too long. Yeah. Mine's patchy at best. Yes.
But realistically, like, it has to be in place, or else I do believe that it will hinder people. Now, that's my outlook on it. I mean, do you agree? And if so, I want to kind of get into like what everyone does to
even when it comes down to your customers too. I think Henry Ford said at one point, he said, if I'd listened to my customers, I would have built a faster horse, you know?
Right.
So.
No, absolutely. I remember that. Yeah, I think he said that one time in a fucking meeting, bro.
Yeah, and then he said, you know, people were asking, can I get my car in my favorite color? And he said, yes, you can, as long as your favorite color is black.
Yeah, as long as it's black, you can get it. Yeah.
As long as it's black. But it's true. Here's the thing, and that's a good point there, both of you made, because how many times have you had a client that just knew exactly what they needed to do? And if you had listened to them, or if you did listen to them when they thought they knew what they needed to do. I know I'm guilty of listening to a client when I shouldn't have listened to a client, and allowing them to make a mistake because that's what was easiest and that's what they wanted to do at the, you know, more so.
Clients are good at coming out of that carrot and stick type of scenario. You know, if you do this web development for me, you know, we can get this, you know, content plus linking contract that you really want. Okay, we can do the web development, and the web development fucking blows up in your face. You know, I've run into that, you know, a multitude of times, you know.
Exactly. And that was the one I was thinking of too, Brad, is that, you know, a lot of the folks in here are running agencies, and, you know, you start adding all these things that you can do for clients, that you water down your effectiveness in all of them pretty much. And then you've got all these moving parts. You've got to make additional hires. So the way that I have handled that is I tried doing that, you know, offering web design. What I do now is I've just got a few folks that are really good at what they do. They're, you know, premium. I refer. I don't take a referral cut, but they refer work back to me in SEO or like in PPC.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it. I think Cotton at an event one time mentioned that that's what he did as well.
Yeah,
way back in the day.
Something like in that process, he had a really solid process for that. Actually, I have seen it. I've had situations where I've had people paying, you know, $20,000 a month, and they're like, "We need to rank for this, we need to rank for that." While I'm saying, you know, this is not a good idea, and I've been able to take people off of that in the past. But I've also kind of like brushed it aside at the beginning of the career and like, okay, we'll just keep doing this kind of thing, you know. And eventually, it just doesn't make sense anymore for anyone to pay anything, because you know the profit's not going to be there at the end of the day if they're ranking a vanity term, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's like
well, the problem is 100% of your success becomes pegged with that one keyword and how well that one keyword does.
Right.
You can increase traffic like 100x or 300x or 1000x, but if that one keyword isn't like the top spot where they think it should be, then it doesn't really matter. And our processes lend themselves to pulling in all the traffic, not just from that one keyword. So Mike and I were even on a call. I think it was this week or the week before or last week. Yeah. And we said, now keep in mind, you know, the KPI is traffic, and we're going to pull in relevant terms, but don't peg us into this one term. Oh, okay. So again, to reiterate, you know, and then we say it again, just to remind them, because they hear it, but they don't, you know, you can tell it doesn't sink in sometimes. So
it's very easy for business owners to get stuck on these smaller goals. And that's everybody, dude. I mean, we've talked about goals on this show where if they're short-term goals, they can absolutely not benefit the long-term goal that you have. And if you take these like tangent priorities that really aren't the real priorities you should have to reach your successes, then you can go down a rabbit hole. You can take it the wrong direction and make tons of effort. And I think all business owners can be guilty of that, especially ones that are paying you for SEO, that have been told SEO is about a keyword this and that, blah, 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 you know?
Well, then they see their competitors up there for that particular keyword, and that's all it's just a vanity term at that point. They want to beat their competitor for that specific keyword, and you're a complete failure if you don't have it up there. So I kind of...
That's why you need your data. That's why you need to be focusing on traffic and show them, look, they've got this term, but look at these 200 terms around that market that you have that they don't have, and they've only got 10, you know?
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up that goal thing, Mike, because we did talk about it on one of the other shows, and you know, I kind of said, well, you know, I try to have few goals, right? But in that, I also understand, like, your one way of looking at your mind is it's a goal achieving mechanism. So the thing that your mind wants is like that's going to orient a lot of your behavior toward accomplishing, right? So if you've got a goal to be comfortable, you might just wind up sitting around watching TV all day. You're kind of comfortable, right? So figuring out how to get goals instilled in your mind helps you understand how to get goals instilled, better goals,
proper
goals, better goals in the minds of people around you as well. And so, you know, you can kind of engineer your sales process in such a way where if they came into it with the goal of a keyword ranking, you can help shift that so that they see it and feel it better as a goal to actually, well, what I really want to do here is drive sales and get more people on my site that are going to buy the things that I can help them with. And so, you know, coming into it with kind of a re-engineering, you know, kind of mindset, so to speak, and saying, I can help you understand a better goal than you already have, right? But you can't just say that kind of thing. You have to kind of work with where they are.
You have to take time, and that's like Brad said, we've said it more than once. You have to shift the narrative. You have to shift the way of thinking, and that's why it really does take someone who's ethical in business, because it is easy to take advantage of someone if you have more knowledge of something than them, and you can make them believe something that necessarily isn't true. And I've seen people do it, use that to shift KPIs in a way where they can take advantage of people. But
on the other hand, when you absolutely need money and you've got the desperate SEO that doesn't really know what they're doing, they're like, fuck yeah, I can rank for that. Give me your money, you know? And then they take the money and it's like 6 months later, people just wasted a bunch of their money. So,
well, it's like the old SEO thing is like, I'll give you a guarantee we'll rank you for a keyword on the first page within 1 month, and then it ends up being a freaking brand modified term. You know,
that's what I do, Mike, every time.
That's all I rank for, dude.
Yeah, that's all I do.
Well, other people's brands, there's good money in other brand names for sure, dude.
There is, for sure. I was actually looking in one of our main niches at brand names that we can rank for. So there's a ton of volume. Someone was arguing with me. I was like, not arguing, just learning, essentially. You know, we were working on something together. I was like, you got to go after these keywords. Well, I've just been doing these. I was like, yeah, it's 2,500 a month versus like 50,000 a month search volume. Oh, fuck. Okay, yeah, let's go for this.
No, it's true. It's very true.
Well, and that goes back to kind of what you're doing, right, with SEO. It's like if you're not going after all these keywords, you're not being really as relevant, right? You're leaving a lot on the table that search engines, Google specifically, are using to help them understand the nature of how relevant your content is and whether or not it's going to be a good fit for who they show on their search results, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, by taking this strategy, you're not only helping them get more traffic, you're actually helping them become more relevant and powerful in the space that they're in. Right?
That's why I like cognitive, because you add in all the cognitive terms, or as many as you can, and then your page is more relevant. You rank for more terms, and ultimately you end up achieving the final goal, which is, you know, the big money keyword or whatever.
Yeah, and the way that I usually, like, I always tell my clients that, hey, when we engage in a contract, you know, doing search engine optimization on your site, it comes with an education. So, and part of that is like looking at like 80% of the people that are Googling something or just doing research, real top end of the funnel, like real like top of the funnel. 10% are looking for how to do something or get somewhere, some kind of direction. 10% maybe are looking to buy something. So when we approach a project, most of these websites are built with just that 10% of buyers' intent traffic in mind. All they have is product pages and an about page and a home page, and the rest is just products trying to get people to buy stuff, and they want to rank for those product pages. So, but when you start doing the research, that's when you start showing them like, okay, you have these big market level keywords that you know are going to be successful for you. To rank for that, you've also got to rank for a lot of the related terms, and Google is dropping their pants and showing us right here what people are also asking for. So let's start clicking through that. Let's get some of that content up on the site. I mean, it's right here in front of us what people are looking for. And when you start educating folks like that and showing them that they're leaving so much on the table that, as far as the traffic sense goes, then you can retarget them across Google, Display Network or Facebook. But the point is, getting that traffic in there and why that's like such a huge KPI. And then, so our KPIs are traffic, rank, and then, what is our I can't even think of our KPIs, but it's like you're ranked for certain keywords, and then the traffic, and then ultimately sales. That's another one. So if you're positioned right in the marketplace, those two coming together, you should be making sales. If not, then we're going to start looking at the offering and things like that. But once the traffic starts coming in and you're ranking for some more of these main keywords, then that's when your sales are going to start coming in. And I think, educating people to that, it makes a lot more sense when they're understanding how people are searching and what they're actually looking for when they're like an in-market audience. So,
with passages and the new subtopic ranking changes that happened in like early November, October, and like through December and all this shit, it becomes even more important. Like the processes that we've all talked about for years are now producing better results. Like SEO is now producing better results for people that are doing SEO properly, right? And for business owners, there's no way for them to understand this unless they are educated about it. Like it is our job to educate them on this 100%. So I think it's funny that it comes up because literally like it feels like every time someone that comes in and we're working with someone who hasn't sold with us or done anything with us before, it's always a shift in mindset to here is how it should be done. So it makes me realize that a lot of the market still does not look at SEO to where I feel like it the right way, which is as a large net of traffic generation rather than individual terms and individual this or that, like rank for one or two keywords on a page when it's very possible to rank for 1,000+ keywords on a single page, So
biotin for hair,
Yeah. What'd you say?
Biotin for hair. That was the
that was ridiculous.
That
was a ridiculous page. That was. I mean, that was not difficult to rank. Yeah,
and that's not necessarily a buying keyword, but I mean, they made a crap ton of money off of that because
when you see 1,000+% increase in revenue because of it for organic, you realize that like it is important to go after all intent. And we're going to be talking about this in NFG Monthly coming up here, I think next week, Brad. There's been changes since the last core that have modified the way that I'm actually doing some clustering and the way I'm doing some internal structure. And it'll be a good talk. I think it'll be a good presentation, good for people to see that it really has enhanced everything that I think we've been teaching and doing for the last 4 or 5 years. Like with passages, with all the way they're handling all of this, the way that they're using internal link structure and external link structure, it just works very well. I didn't want to get into a huge SEO topic, so I'll change it back. I'm going to go back to the no's. What do you have in place? What safeguards does anyone have in place to make sure you don't go down those rabbit holes? So like Napoleon had things in place when he was a general, right? He did not allow people to he did never allow people to wake him up with good news. He would be woken up with bad news. He would not take the mail for 2 weeks so that everything that could solve problems for itself or other people could solve the problems would already be handled.
You're talking about Napoleon?
Yeah.
That's why you don't message me back for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. That's right. I'm Napoleon, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I should be Napoleon.
You're too tall for that, Mike. You're too tall.
Yeah, and I know, right? But this dude changed the face of warfare, and he had these particular ways that he did not let himself be bothered with just a bunch of BS, right? And that had to do with like really the only thing you're coming to me with if I'm sleeping is an emergency, and if it's not an emergency, I don't want to see the damn mail, And so that's like goes back to the open door policy that I mentioned, where it's like if I'm the boss and I'm there and my door's open all the time for anyone to just walk in and discuss, nobody can tell me that that's more productive than making an appointment and making sure their time is productive to do things that they need to do in my head. But So what do you guys have in place to make sure you don't go down a freaking tangent rabbit hole or take the wrong client? Is there a process anyone uses? Like, that's what I'm getting at.
Well, if I can start by just saying that I don't for most of the people in our industry, it's not somebody walking in, an employee walking into your office door. You're working from home. Your kids are being homeschooled, and you're hearing the noise of the house being run. You hear your wife struggling with the kids, and then there's that guilt factor. You hear the kids running around. They're bored. It's time to go.
Dogs attacking you while you're
the dog. Yeah, I mean the refrigerator's right there. There's so many distractions when you're working from home. I mean, I gave up my office and converted it into a classroom.
That's what we did
a year ago.
Same thing. Yeah.
A year ago, and I've been working from home ever since with all the kids there. I moved out to the cave, which is a section of the garage that I have sectioned off. Working from the man cave, could still hear everything. The access, to the kids of the family who I love. But I heard a quote. It was like from Zig Ziglar or something. He said, if you want to, he said, you got to keep work at work. You got to keep home life at home. And if you want to stay married to both, you got to keep them separated. I'm back here in an office now, specifically for that reason. I've been here back for a couple weeks.
Did you get an office again?
I did.
Nice. Yeah.
It looks like Brad's green screen.
It does. Yeah. I tried to do a green screen before this, but they actually I think StreamYard makes you have like a backdrop. So I turned it on and it turned because of my shirt screen, it turned just like whatever the background I tried to set for that. I was like, oh, that's not going to fucking work. That's why I was late getting on here. I was trying to figure that out. But,
that's pretty funny.
So I'll have to get I took over the playroom. So it's half playroom, half office right now, but I think I'm just going to take it over. And then Kelsey's Instagram stuff kick back up. So even though the kids are back at school now, we'll probably turn that from it used to be my office, then it downstairs, then it became the classroom. Now it's going to be her Instagram stuff. So she ordered a bunch of crap. So I'm never getting that office back again. So I think I'm going to convert the Ploffice over to a full-time office, and then I can do the green screen at that point. The Ploffice, yeah.
Your environment, your work environment it sends a huge signal to your brain that you are here to do a job, to work, and it just eliminates any confusion. It eliminates the noise.
One thing that I did that was pretty cool was I read an article about like how like the scent of your office and stuff like that really affects it. So I went out and
how's your scent over there?
The scent of your office. Yeah,
pheromone.
I got a bunch of coffee candles lying around, so it smells like a fresh.
There's a lamb.
Sense.
There's a barn animal behind you, Brad.
Yes, he looks like a
lamb.
Yeah. He looks bigger than a lamb. You see him in person. He's a big dude.
He's tired.
He's part. He's freaking out because my wife left. That's why I had to bring him in here. But yeah, he's
okay. Dad, time to party.
Shit. What is he? He's part poodle, part Pyrenees, Pyredoodle. Yeah, that's it. So part Great Pyrenees. That's why he's so big.
Like one of the things I kind of interject and kind of triangulate on this, like I've got a lot of background in like athletics and sport and things. It's like you wouldn't put your entire kit on, your uniform, shoulder. I played football. Like I wouldn't just put that on and then go do homework. Right. There's a ritual. There's something about, it's like you don't bring stuff off the field onto the field. And there's kind of there's some kind of rite, like rite of passage, RITE, that comes with stepping in the door to where you work. And then that is a place where you do your work. It's a place that's somehow sacred, and sacred really means it doesn't have outside influence, right?
It's set apart.
It's set apart, right? Yeah. And it's tough when you're in a home environment and you're trying to work with that, because our mind is just set up to pay attention to things that are near or loud or important, or that come from people that we care about immensely. And if you don't have that separation where you can go and you can do that thing there, it's the reason those rights have existed for antiquity is because it leads to a lot more effectiveness, right? It leads to being able to accomplish the thing that you're there to do. And this year, I think, has shown a lot of people how important that sort of distinction or differentiation or separation from the, like, you leave, if you want to stay married to both, right, you've got to separate them. There's a lot to that right now. Obviously you've got to pay attention to the important stuff in your life. So the first thing is like identifying, oh, this is important for me to be able to work in an environment that I don't have these things pushing on me and catching my immersion and pulling me out of what I'm doing right now, or else it's not going to get done. Like, so you have to identify what's important first, and then make sure that you allocate time specifically for that. In the same way with the family, you could flip it and say, my family's important. So if I'm bringing work if I'm always on my phone messaging clients, trying to get my reach on Facebook to grow or whatever it might be, it's not going to work very well.
Well, on that note, there is hardly ever a time where my phone is actually not on do not disturb, and that's because I'm either in my office and my door is closed and I don't have an open door policy unless there's an emergency. Like, my family can come to me if they need me, but the kids know not to walk in. My wife does not walk in unless there's a reason to. She will not barge in. And it goes back to that closed door policy, which I think is really important for people that run businesses, because it is sacred. My family's sacred. My office, my business is sacred. Brad is sacred to me. And realistically, though, like, my phone goes on do not disturb when I'm asleep. It's on it when I'm with my family. It's on it when I'm in my office. So I've got to add people to a list. Like, Brad can come through, freaking my wife can come. There's a few select things that come through that are a priority in my life. And other than that, people can't get a hold of me. Like, there's just no way, because
I know that, because people reach out to me to try and get a hold of you. I'm like, I'll text him.
For me, like, if I consume like that, if I put up 10 tabs, if I freaking let everyone get into my Skype and I look at those messages, that will take my whole freaking day. Like, I will lose myself in other shit rather than what I need to be lost in.
I've got these bad boys too.
Yep.
The noise canceling. Good luck getting a hold of me. Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
It does. It absolutely does.
Even if I'm home alone and I need to get some serious shit done, I'll throw those on, because it just like, transforms you, puts you in that zone, so it's like a trigger or whatever.
No is important because time is valuable, man. People can't
buy it.
People are too frivolous with it, man. Like, straight up, that quote, like, if you listen to it, like, let me see, where did that shit go? No person would give up even an inch of their estate, and the slightest dispute with a neighbor can mean hell to pay. Yet we easily let each other's encroach on our lives. I will say time, whereas we often pave the way for those to take it over. No person hands out their money to just people on the street, but how many of us will hand out our time to other people, right? And I can't fault other people for that, but if you look at it, if you truly start, I've started looking at how people treat my time. And I mean, I texted
people will take advantage of it if you let them.
Yes, they do. No, people, and they don't know they're doing it necessarily.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Some do. Like, those are not the people that know they're doing it. They're just not the best people in the world, unfortunately. They just aren't. People don't know they're doing it. But I texted someone this week, a couple people, and I said, I should have texted you, Brad. Now it's going to sound like I'm a dick because I didn't text this to you, dude. And in flesh. But I literally told someone, I said, thank you for the time you give me every fucking week, because, dude, you're taking time.
I don't give you much of my time, for sure. I've learned.
I love your time.
That, yeah.
I just eat it up.
Mm-hmm. You slurp it. What are we talking about? Yeah,
right. But dude, it is extremely important, and if you are not careful, your time will be taken, and that is you can't get it back. I mean, realistically, you're never going to get the time with your family again. You're never going to get the time to work on what you could have worked on at that time. Like, whatever you had intent to do, when you shift focus to something else, especially if it is a random thing, just pops in your day, it takes your time, dude. So
when that app is fully operating in your OS, it also allows you, or it forces you to, when you are allocating time to certain things, that you are all in, like you are fully present, you're fully aware, you're 100% with your kids or your wife when you're with them. When you're at work, you're 100% in when you're doing your job. When you're working out and doing something for your body, you're 100% in on that. So it does allow you to be fully present wherever your feet are at.
Then that's it. It's present versus there. Like, dude, I realize
place a demand on yourself.
Dude, for the last freaking 3 or 4 years, dude, when shit was getting really bad for me, like I wasn't present, dude. Like I know that I took the time away from my family that I should have spent with them, and I was not present for anyone in my life except for I was selfish as hell. You know, my time was my time, and my time was freaking useless because I was not getting shit done anyways. You know,
Yeah.
And realistically, if you're not present in what you're doing, it really doesn't matter if you're doing it because it's going to be half-assed no matter what it is. It just is, you know.
I'd spin that a little bit too, Mike, and we're all selfish and we need to be, but what we need to make sure we're selfish about are things that are important to us, right?
Oh,
and
it has to be.
Like I'm selfish as hell because my family's important. Like it's not really like I'm out, you know, farting around. I've done that plenty, way too much for different similar reasons actually as what you're talking about. But it's like, you know, what we have to realize and recognize is that we're always selfish.
Yeah.
But like, are you being selfish about things that are actually important and they're going to be good for you? Like, you know, not just like in the next 5 seconds, but in the next 5 years. Right. And so it's like that kind of mid to longish term goal, making sure that you're paying attention to those things. It's cool to be selfish. I recognize my entire experience is in my own mind. And so because of that, yeah, it's going to be selfish no matter what. So as long as I can make sure that I allocate the right stuff in there to being things that are good now and in the midterm and the long term, like I don't get in trouble, right? Things are still working and building and things are moving in the right direction. And all too often, especially like with substances, and I know a fair bit about them from my own personal experience as well, is what it really makes you do. Like you just start paying attention to things that really aren't important. Like they're not going to serve you in a lot of ways. So, you know, I kind of like The Virtue of Selfishness is a book that Ayn Rand wrote, you know, who wrote Atlas Shrugged and a couple other Fountainhead, some books that I really liked. And so that's kind of talking about the philosophical side of it, but even just the psychological side of it. We have to recognize we are selfish. Making sure that you're selfish about the right things is really kind of what success is about.
That's exactly it, man, because I don't have a hard time telling people no, but I have a really hard time telling people no, dude. Like if someone comes to me that wants knowledge, that wants to learn, dude, I love helping people like further themselves and be better. But if I spend all my time doing that, then I am not, I'm betraying my family. I'm betraying my business partners and shit. And everyone's smiling at me because I'm pretty. I'm watching Corey now. But realistically,
that's not dirty juice, is it, Corey?
That wasn't dirty. I am going to see Dirty today. We're going to the range, but that
looked like you were looking to get dirty today. So I think
shoot some stuff, dude. But it's time, man. It's time, and good selfishness is a good thing because we do need to say no when it's time to say no.
It's like I need to say no to doing these podcast things.
Right? Exactly.
No, I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah. I know you are, but no. Realistically, that's it though. Like it was on my mind, and the no thing. I realized how I was writing about it in my damn journal, and I'm like, dude, it's actually a really important topic to be able to freaking prioritize. And I think it comes back to what you said. You know, I call them goals, but really I started looking at them like priorities. And the priorities are the things that get you down the middle of the path. And to me, it's all about staying that middle of that path. And I have to see it like a freaking road, dude. If you're on the right side or the left side, dude, there's an exit. There's an exit over here. They can veer and take you back around 180 and all this shit. But if
it's amazing what you can do with focus.
Yeah.
Like absolutely amazing. Like you can learn essentially anything. Look at Elon Musk. You know, he didn't go to school for physics or I don't know what he went to school for, but the dude is freaking NASA level brilliant with like rocket science now. And he just did it all, you know, the learning on his own. So
no, it's a big
richest
thing.
man in the world.
I'm rewatching. I'm watching the second Secret thing, the one afterwards where they talk about what they said wrong in The Secret and all that. But the law of attraction.
Is that on Netflix too?
It is, dude.
I think know if I've seen the second one
like that. I don't know,
yeah.
But I know you and I have seen the law of attraction in action. I think next time we're going to jump onto it because, dude, I literally see it constantly, and I think that mindset in business is 100% necessary to lock down properly.
It's funny. I'm reading the 50 Cent book, the new one. You know, I didn't even know it was out, and I saw it come up. And he actually mentioned a vision board in that. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty law of attraction."
I will tell you, man. In The Secret, it talks about the dude who like looked at his board and said, "Oh shit." Okay, I never have wanted to buy a house. Dude, my wife vision board this. I look back at her vision board, dude, and she vision board.
I believe it. Yeah. She can see it. She got that vision, baby. Look in her eyes.
Right. But I mean, does anyone have anything going on that they want to tell people about right now? We're like right towards the end. I don't want to get in a deep conversation, or I'll end up sitting here for another fucking hour and pissing Brad off. So
no, I've just been focusing on reading even more than I have.
I'm reading 50th Law again, dude.
That's good. Yeah, the 50th Law is better than this one so far. That one's my absolute favorite of all time.
What's that one? The 50th Law?
Yeah. You know Robert Greene, he wrote 46 Laws of Power. 50 Cent read that. Honestly, by reading this book, he wrote it himself. I think he only read one chapter in the fucking 46 Laws of Power, because he's like, never outshine the master is one of the chapters in there. And he said that alone has made him millions and millions of dollars and helped him navigate through everything. But yeah, the 50th Law is absolute my hands. I've read it 2 or 3 times.
Everyone read the 50th Law, 46 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War. Like
anything Robert Greene is solid. Mastery, if you feel like you need that. If you're having trouble like grasping something, go and read Mastery, because it'll kind of help you put it into perspective. The 10,000 Hours. That's where I first heard about that. You know, I've heard about it numerous times since then. But yeah, that and then
read The Way of the Superior Man, dude, and Hard Times Create Great Men.
Oh, you know what I'm listening to? Like, I've got different levels of like what I'm reading and stuff. So I'll always read something about investing, and if I find something like I think this is Hustle Hard, Hustle Smart, or something like that. But I have stuff like that I read. They're relatively easy reads, but then I try and listen to stuff in the car too. I finally got the Jordan Peterson book, the 12 Rules of Life, or whatever.
Matthew 25:29, baby.
Yeah, that's what that was. Yeah, what I saw that in. So I listen to that like in the car, like right before bed. But then I pass out and I wake up. I'm like, fuck, I'm a chapter and a half ahead, and I got to rewind.
That's what I do with my audio too, bro.
Yeah. So as long as I don't do that while I'm driving and listening to it, I'm good. You know.
Exactly. No, dude, that's funny, because like when you texted me that and you showed me like, dude, Matthew 25:29. I'm like, dude, I just was talking about this with like 5 boys that I was teaching in youth group on Matthew 25:29 and the talents, dude. And it is such an important lesson from so many standpoints in life. No matter what your view on religion is, that parable is freaking amazing, dude. Like that that chapter, dude. Like just looking at the not anger, but the disappointment when someone hides what they have to either produce or
preserve it. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. But on that note, we just ended a show with a Bible verse.
Yeah, who would have thought? You know,
I don't want to step on that.
No, go ahead.
On that a little bit. No, I'll extend in that. Like Jordan Peterson, who's somebody that's kind of fairly popular right now. I like a lot, and he talks a little bit about that, and he's like, you know, when you have a lot, you're going to have a lot more opportunities. Like people who have more.
That's what he talked about in the book. That's where I heard it. Yeah. I was like, shit, I haven't heard that one in a while. So I just sent Mike Matthew 25:29. He's like, dude, that's my favorite Bible verse. And I was like, it had been so long since I heard that, and I couldn't have even named it. I remember the parable from back in the day, but it was funny.
The whole separation of wealth things. Like, how are you going to get rid of that? Like, people,
good luck.
Like,
you're not going to be able to tax the rich like a lot of people want to.
Equalize everybody's money right now. Well, the people who have talent and skill and have things that they're going to get it all right back. And
exactly.
It's back the way it was, right?
It's like those videos where it shows you like the richest man in the world, and it's like the Rockefellers, and like it starts like 100 years ago, and it's like shh, and you see like it goes out and then back in. I'm like, this is fucking. I always love watching those, because then you see Warren Buffett pop up, and he's down, and he's back up, and then Elon Musk is like boom, 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 boom. You know, Jeff Bezos goes down. Would Jeff Bezos still be richest man if he hadn't gotten divorced? I think he would have, right?
I think so, dude. I think so. But, you know, it's funny because when he buries that talent, dude, like literally, like when you don't share what you have, when you don't use what you have to make more, you will lose it, dude. And that's the thing. There's only so much time, right? So there's so many ways to take that. But I need to read that book, dude. You need to send me the title, or tell me the title. What? The Jordan Peterson one.
Just Google Jordan Peterson. Yeah. It's not fucking hard, Mike.
Is it his only one? Because I've been
watching.
You
know how to Google?
He's got a lot of books.
Are
you talking about a book, Fletch, or are you talking about some of his video stuff?
That one he's talked about in a book as well as a video. It's on YouTube. Yeah. He does a lot of lectures.
Yeah, his lectures are good, and then like even like on the Rogan podcast and stuff, he's solid.
Yeah,
We
you
should
can
try and get him on the show. You know, I think he would enjoy it. You know,
be happy to read it out.
Maybe.
yeah.
So would Ryan. But
Michaela.
Let me
all
get through
right,
the book
well,
first.
Someone wanted us to talk about white labeling.
White labeling.
Um,
Instead, we talked about the Bible. I guess in what context, Alex? Are you asking? Should we say no to white labeling, or white labeling works out well in certain situations? You know, you've just got to make sure it's right for you. The perfect type of white labeling is you have clearly defined goals up front and clearly defined roles for everyone in the beginning. Okay, you're going to sell it. After I help you sell it, I'm never going to have to talk to the fucking client again, and I'll just do the SEO. We'll take care of everything. As long as everything's looking good on the SEO side, then we're good. Otherwise, if I'm having to hop on sales calls and everything, I want a bigger cut. So that's where, or if you're doing just straight like linking and stuff, if you've got a good connect on that.
I mean, that's the difference between white labeling and white gloves. So Alex, the white labeling would be somebody else who is essentially unknown to the client that you're working with. And that's a great scenario, and you keep more of the money. If it's white glove, where they come in and they kind of act as your agency, and they're handling all the client stuff, then they're going to take a bigger cut of that because now they've assigned some internal resources to managing the project and everything. But it's really a solid way to scale your agency or anything that you're doing. I mean, if you've got a way of generating clients and you can bring them in, and your cap is your fulfillment, then you absolutely should look into getting some white label services.
Well,
and on the other end, if
you're selling white label services, which is maybe why Alex is asking, that's another solid way. You reach out to folks who are in internet marketing, reach out to web developers that are local, reach out to people that are programmers. So they're all over the place. They've got their own websites. They just do web design. You can reach out to them and say, hey, have you thought about offering, whatever service it is that you're doing? And then you work a relationship, but they're all going to be built on.
Be careful with that though, because if you're working under a web designer and you essentially become their only point of contact for SEO, you're going to get pulled in on so many bullshit meetings.
And that's white glove. That's why get your legal straight if you're white glove and stuff. Like it can cause problems depending.
Yeah, the guy we were working with out in Vegas, Mike, remember he would put, I've got this big opportunity, and he's getting paid because he's getting the web design, where I'm having to hop on these SEO calls, and we might or might not get the SEO. So eventually I just said I don't want it.
Be careful and structure the legal properly. So be careful with that. White label's amazing. I love white label servicing.
If it's essentially a pass through, you can do relatively well on it.
Yeah. So I do this. I don't really provide it. I use white label fulfillment. And like for me, like one of the things that came about is I started understanding how the government, specifically like the military, when they're doing a new weapon system, right? They'll write the spec. They say, we want all of this stuff. This is, if you provide this to us, then we'll choose who's best. Right. And so if you're in a role where you're looking at getting white label, write the spec, right? Make sure you're very clear on exactly what you want. That's how I can use a bunch of different link vendors. And
honestly, that would be so beneficial if people would do that.
Yeah. So I've got, my web design and my hosting and all that stuff set up just kind of through a spec. This is exactly what we do, what we get. And I don't do it personally. I'm not in there punching the keys myself, but I know I'm going to get a product that I actually understand and it's valuable and then I can sell. And so if you look at the flip side of that and you say, I can do a lot of these different things, finding somebody and then figuring out like what that spec is going to be, which points back to like the legal, knowing exactly what's going to happen, making it a service or a fulfillment that makes sense for both sides, so to speak, is really key, right? Whether it's link building or web design or hosting or whatever you're going to be doing. I tend to gravitate a little bit more toward talking to people and doing some of the marketing. And so I typically handle the relationship side of it and let other people just kind of, hey, this is what we're doing now. This is making sure that works. It works. Okay, cool. I'll just kind of
some of my favorite contracts of all time, though, was when we were providing the white label service in the substance abuse arena, because we sold them on Content Plus linking. They took our advice. They actually applied Content Plus linking, sold it to their clients. And then all we had to do is we put our content writer, in the back end of their site. So he would do that, and then he would post on a sheet what we then needed our backlinking guys to take care of. So we essentially put it together, put our processes in place, and then never really had to touch it again.
I'm glad you said that, because when you think about it, Brad, what we're doing is white labeling for a company. Like we're a white label content plus exposure service, right? Nobody knows that one of our people or somebody other than the name and face of the company is actually writing the articles, is getting exposure and all that kind of thing. So like, it's kind of a concept that's just there. It's built into everything that we do anyway. So you figure out the nature of that kind of thing, and it works on. It obviously works in a lot of different ways. Right?
Have you ever insourced? We'll wrap this up real quick, but I know Jordan did a bit of insourcing. I've done a bit of insourcing when you're putting staff in someone's office. It's just another angle of the same thing, but you get into like bigger insurance issues. But it's true. It is essentially you're building their department for them, and you're acting as their department for them. And whether you have someone in the house or you're just doing it digitally, it's the same thing for sure.
If you meet a client with staff that doesn't want to pay you for the SEO services, they will typically pay you to train their staff, and they'll pay you a big chunk. And then you don't have to worry about it after that. If it doesn't work, they didn't apply it properly.
Really nice.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, hey, thanks people for coming. We'll be here next week at 11. Thanks everyone for coming on. And we'll
11 Mountain, right?
With 11 Mountain Standard. Yep, that's it.
1 Eastern.
All right.